Hi, my name is Alison St. Germain, and I am the ISU Student Health and Wellness dietitian. And today we're going to talk about nourishing your body. We have some strategies for prediabetes and diabetes management. And so I just wanted to let you know some of the things you have available to you as a student. Undergrad, grad students, anybody who's a student has these services, and they're free. So you can make an appointment with me, or you can make an appointment if you live in a dorm with the ISU Dining Dietitian, and you get one-on-one counseling. And we both do eating disorders and disordered eating. And we also do any type of medical nutrition therapy. So if you have diabetes, prediabetes, high cholesterol, celiac, GI issues, anything, we can help you with that as well. And also, you can request a presentation in your class or a lecture from me as well, or even if you want to do small group things, we can do that as well. And we also have some online stuff. I also have a Joyful Eating intern, and she does meal planning with you, and she will help with skill building, help you think of ideas, what you want to eat. And she does a virtual class once a month, and then what she'll do is one-on-one follow-ups after that with you to work specifically with you. And coming soon, she's working on a nutrition and sports or exercise video for you too. So today we're going to discover some myths and truths around prediabetes and diabetes. We're going to watch a video to understand what's actually happening in your body, and then explore some changes you can make on nutrition, movement, and lifestyle. And then I'm going to have you set at least one intention or something you want to work on, some type of a change to help you with that. And then I have lots of resources for you as well that you can use to help make some of these transitions. And just a disclaimer, if you do take insulin, you should discuss any changes to diet and lifestyle either with me or another registered dietitian or your primary care physician. So first, we're going to start off kind of fun, just doing kind of a myths and truths around diabetes, prediabetes. So I want you to think, I'll pause before I give you the answer so you can think which one it is. So number one, diabetes is caused by eating too much sugar. Thumbs down is false. Thumbs up is true. So I'll give you a second to think. So the answer is false. Thumbs down. Diabetes is not caused by eating too much sugar, but if you do have prediabetes or diabetes, we do need to pay attention to the sugar, and it's not just sugar, it's glucose in general, carbohydrates in general. It doesn't mean you can't eat them. A lot of times people think they can't eat carbohydrates if they have diabetes. That's false information. You have to eat carbohydrates in order to live, and so one of my jobs is to help you figure that out and how you can do it. Okay, number two, small changes can make a big difference in your A1C, even if your weight even if your weight remains the same. So small changes can make a big difference in your A1C, even if your weight remains the same. So if you're new to this and just got diagnosed, your A1C is a 3-month measure of your fasted glucose levels. And so the answer is true. Thumbs up. Yes, even just small changes can help improve those 3-month glucose levels. Okay, next one. Keeping your blood sugar or your glucose, you will hear that too, controlled will preserve the life of your pancreas. And you might be Googling what your pancreas is right now too. So keeping your blood sugar controlled will preserve the life of your pancreas. That is true. So your pancreas is an organ in your body that will push out insulin in response to glucose in your bloodstream. And so the reason this is true, and the video I'm going to show you is going to help beautifully explain it, but just to give you a preview, the reason you want to keep your blood glucose controlled even if you have prediabetes, is because what happens is your pancreas is getting a message that you have high levels of glucose in your bloodstream, but it's not getting into the cells. And the reason for that is with type 2 diabetes is that there's a mechanism somewhere that's not working, and it's thought maybe it's a receptor issue where your body has insulin, but the cells just aren't recognizing it. And you need that insulin in order for the glucose to get into your cells to be utilized. So what's happening is your pancreas keeps getting these messages that you have all this glucose in your bloodstream, so it keeps pumping it out, pumping it out, pumping it out till it gets tired, and then no more insulin. And so the stats around it is that once you have full-blown diabetes, if the blood sugars aren't well controlled, you might have 5-ish years before you have to start taking insulin. But if you control it, and I have some methods to do that, you can preserve the life of your pancreas. Okay, now that I have prediabetes or diabetes, I should not eat carbohydrates anymore. I already told you the answer to this earlier. So that's false. You have to eat carbohydrates. There are some carbohydrates that are going to work better for you and help manage your blood sugars better, and we'll talk about that. But yes, you still need to eat carbohydrates. My weight is what caused my diabetes. Is that true or false? That is false. You might read oftentimes that that is the reason. And when I went to school to be a dietitian back in 1990s, that's what we were told. But actually, they have found out that that's not true. It's not the weight that is causing the issue. So that's good news. But they don't really know what it is. That's the bad news. Not skipping meals is the first priority in keeping your blood glucose under control. That is true, because we want to avoid these big ups and downs because if you're not eating for a long time, your glucose levels are going to go way down. And then once you eat, they'll go way up. So we want to avoid that because that's hard on your body. So next is the video that I want to show you that really describes what is going on in your body with type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes is a condition in which your blood sugar level is too high. Carbohydrates are substances your body uses to make energy. After you eat food that contains carbohydrates, it eventually goes to your small intestine. In your small intestine, the food is broken down into single sugar molecules called glucose. The cells in your small intestine soak up the sugars, which pass into your bloodstream. When the blood reaches your pancreas, it detects the high amount of sugar in your blood. Normally, this causes your pancreas to put a chemical called insulin into your bloodstream. The insulin reduces the amount of sugar in your blood to a healthy level. How does insulin do this? As the blood moves through your body, the insulin and sugar exit the bloodstream into your tissues to reach your cells. Most cells have structures on their surfaces called insulin receptors. When insulin flows by, it attaches to the receptors. The insulin acts like a key in a lock to open up the cell, so the sugar can get inside. Now your cell can use the sugar to make the energy it needs to work properly, and your blood sugar level drops back to its normal range. If you have type 2 diabetes, your cells don't respond to insulin as they should. This is called insulin resistance. When this happens, your insulin cannot unlock the cells to let sugar in because the locks, or insulin receptors, are missing or aren't working. As a result, sugar is locked out of your cells. When sugar can't get into your cells, it builds up in your bloodstream. This is a condition called hyperglycemia. In response to the high blood sugar levels, your pancreas makes more and more insulin. The overworked cells in your pancreas try to keep up, but they slowly lose their ability to make enough insulin. These problems may lead to the symptoms of type 2 diabetes.
Now we're going to take a look at the laboratory blood levels. And so if you have your labs, if you can pull them up, just pause this, pull yours up so you can compare. So somebody that does not have diabetes, their A1C, and remember this is the lab marker looking at 3 months of your glucose control, should be about 5. Okay. Somebody with prediabetes, 5.7 to 6.4. If you're in that range, that is the prediabetes range. And once it hits 6.5 and above, then you're into the diabetic range. When I was in school, this was not even a diagnosis yet, the prediabetes, but they added this. I don't know how long ago it was, but they added it so we can start helping people manage their blood sugar so it doesn't get into the full-blown diabetes. And so many of you watching this are probably in the prediabetes phase here. And so that's one way to look at it. Here is your fasting blood sugars here. And somebody who doesn't have prediabetes is 99 or below. And prediabetes is 100 to 125, and then 126 or above the fasting. So fasting is different. And you can ignore that last column there. But just know that if you've eaten something, even somebody that doesn't have diabetes, their blood sugar is going to go up. And so that's not what we're looking at here for the diagnosis. We're looking just at the fasting. Okay, so what do you do? So we're going to look at all of these things. We are going to focus on the gentle nutrition piece. Not because I'm not saying this is the most important. What I'm saying, that's where my qualifications lie, and that's what I know the most about. So we're gonna spend more time on that. But it's not just the nutrition piece that affects your blood sugar. If you don't sleep enough, which most college students don't because you're busy, and that affects your blood sugar. If you're stressed, which most people are, right, in college, that's going to affect your blood sugar. Not having much movement or physical activity, that doesn't mean you have to go to the gym, but just getting incidental movement throughout the day is going to be helpful. If you like going to the gym, that's great. If you like doing some of their classes, also great. But it doesn't have to be that. And then alcohol actually affects your blood sugar. Something that happens, and this is scary, is that when you consume alcohol, your blood glucose or blood sugar takes a big dip, and you could pass out and have hypoglycemia. Somebody who doesn't have diabetes, theirs also goes low, but not to the point where they're going to faint. So it's important to actually have some food when you're drinking alcohol. It actually is more safe not to have alcohol at all. And so if you do drink alcohol, I would suggest talking with me or your doctor about that so you can do it safely. And then also tobacco or any type of substance also is going to increase your blood sugar levels. We have lots of support services on campus. Most of them are free. And so we have student counseling because it's scary to be diagnosed with something and, it changes your life. So we have counseling. We also have many, if you go to Cyclone Support online, you also can get to all the different mental health things that we have too. Okay, so now for the gentle nutrition piece. Number one, the most important, is to eat consistently and not skip meals because we don't want those wide variations with the low to the high glucose, and it prevents those wild swings. And so when you're eating carbohydrates, and we'll go through what foods have carbohydrates in a second, but if it's important to eat something else along with it. So if you're eating protein or fiber or fat along with the carbohydrate, it's going to stay in your stomach longer and it's not going to get into the bloodstream so quickly. So pairing carbohydrates with protein, fiber, or fat, maybe a combination, is going to slow that down so it doesn't hit the bloodstream. So remember, carbohydrates, even though you have diabetes, are still the number one energy source. You need that for quick energy, you need it for overall energy, and your brain needs it. If your brain doesn't get it, it's going to go to some drastic measures to get it, and it's just better if you just eat them. Okay, so what foods have carbohydrates in them? So bread, cereal, grains, pasta, fruits, juice, dairy products, and I listed a few there. Some vegetables are higher, the starchy ones, in carbohydrates like potatoes, corn, and peas. Legumes, some people call them pulses, or beans like black beans, pinto beans, lentils, that sort of thing. And then sugar, plain white sugar, and then also candy. So now to talk a little bit more about which is which, right? So the nutrient-dense complex carbohydrates are the ones that are going to be healthier for your body with the prediabetes or diabetes. The less nutrient-dense ones are the simple carbs, and those are going to enter your bloodstream quicker. That doesn't mean you can't ever have them again. You just have to be more careful. And if you make an appointment with me, a follow-up after watching this, I can help you fit those in to what you're currently eating and doing it in a safe way. But focusing on getting the most of your carbohydrates from the left side here. So whole grains. And when you're choosing a whole grain, like if it's bread or cereal, you have to actually look down on the ingredient list and it has to say whole grain because marketing is trying to confuse everybody. And they might make a brown bread and it's not going to be a whole grain. It's just wheat. But they've still processed it. So you have to look specifically for the whole grain on the ingredient label. Oats are a whole grain, bran cereals, bread, pastas, rice, quinoa. So not all pasta and rice are whole grain. So you have to actually specifically look for it. And then the legumes also are a good complex carb. And then the starchy vegetables are too. The less nutrient-dense ones, so these are the ones that people term junk food, but I prefer to use less nutrient-dense. And those are sodas, juice, sweetened beverages, candy, sugar. And I hear this a lot. Well, I have honey because it's better for you. Well, actually, your body doesn't know because it's just sugar. I mean, it's a different type of sugar than the sugar, but your body treats it exactly the same. So one isn't really healthier than the other. Specifically looking at blood sugar. Agave, syrup, and then the refined grains like the white bread, pasta, white rice, and pastries. So again, trying to get most of your carbohydrates here, but it's still okay to have these other things. I would recommend with soda, if you think the soda zero tastes the same, choose the soda zero because it's not going to affect your blood sugars. If you have to have a regular soda, you're just like, I don't like the other ones, having it periodically, but making sure you're having it with food so it doesn't enter your bloodstream as quickly. And I would consider even maybe doing a half and half ratio of it to see if that tastes okay. Half of the zero and then half of the regular. If you want more quantity that way, then you can help regulate the blood sugar. And then you just have to kind of pick and choose. Like let's say you're having a soda, a regular soda with French fries and a burger with the bun. That's not a bad food choice. However, it's a lot of carbohydrates in one sitting. So you might want to think, okay, would I rather have the French fries or the bun? Or would I rather have the soda? And so pick and choose. Don't have all three of them. Choose two of them versus the three is kind of an example. And that's what I can work with you one-on-one with. Okay, so now we're going to think of our food choices holistically. We're going to look at the nutrients, how it tastes, your interoceptive awareness, and your food access. So with prediabetes or diabetes, we have to pay more attention to nutrients than somebody that doesn't have anything like this. And so what we pay attention to and have to spend more time on is what can we add to what we're eating in order to help our glucose control. And that's increasing your fiber and whole grains. And then also, like I said earlier, eating protein, fat, or fiber with your carbohydrates to balance that blood glucose. And then, depending on the situation and where you are, prediabetes or diabetes, we might have to get into consistent carbohydrates, which means just something I would help you with looking at breakfast, lunch, and dinner and having a range of carbohydrates for each of those and just trying to make it so your blood sugar remains more stable. But that's something I need to help you with one-on-one. And then looking at flexible rule of threes where we don't want any meal skipping. We want 3 meals a day, approximately not going longer than 3 hours without eating so you can have a more stable blood sugar. So 3 meals a day, at least choose 3 of the food groups from. Okay, so for example, you're going to choose a carbohydrate, hopefully one with whole grains or fiber, choosing a protein, and then something else from the food groups. Okay, so that's the nutrient piece. But it's also important that you like your food and that it tastes good. And so you can do that by adding flavorings to what you're eating and just really making sure what you're choosing you like to eat as well. And that's a big factor. And then also not to get rid of all of the foods that you really enjoy, because sometimes when you have prediabetes or diabetes, you're told you can never have the fun foods again. And that's just not true. You can, but it takes a little bit more time and attention if you actually are taking insulin. So that's a bigger conversation. And then interoceptive awareness is learning what your hunger and fullness feels like and what that tells you. So, for example, if you're feeling hungry and you're also feeling lightheaded, that is an indicator that you might be having a low blood sugar. And so noticing that can help make a shift of how you choose things and how you remember to eat. And it kind of happens gradually over time if you really actually start noticing these things and naming it. And then there's food access as well. What do you have available to you in your apartment or your house, or what can you afford? Just so you know, we do have the Shop Food Pantry on campus. It's open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right now. You can get onto the Iowa State website and find out the exact hours. And then also, we have other resources available for you as well, which is on the Cyclone support page around food access. So thinking of this as kind of a balance, we're looking at nutrients, have to pay a little bit more attention to nutrients because of the prediabetes, diabetes. Remember, taste is always important. And then how does this food feel in your body, and what access can I get for food? So here are some resources for you. And these PowerPoints will be provided, so you can just click right on here. I love this podcast, and it really is informative, and I recommend it to anybody that has prediabetes or diabetes because they give really simple to the point explanation of things. And I just listed out a few of the topics that they have on here. And it's not one of these podcasts where it's going to necessarily entertain you. That's always fun when you get a good podcast and it's actually funny and entertaining. This is more informative, but it's not boring. And they're about 30 minutes for each one of these. So highly recommend this. And then this gentle nutrition handout, that's what this is at the right here. And it's mostly everything we talked about today, just in a one-pager for you. And then we have this quick meal and snack handout, which I want to show you. So this is a really handy handout. It's not specific to diabetes, so I'll help lead you through it. So that way you can learn a skill for actually just being out and about and trying to maneuver this. And so if you need a quick meal, how I have this broken down is you can first pick a grain. And so for your purposes, since you want to focus on whole grains and fiber, you want to choose something most of the time that has some fiber in it, whether it's barley, buckwheat, pasta. You can get a whole wheat pasta. Some people don't like it at first because it's more dense. You can mix half and half. Or they do have some bean pastas as well, red lentil or chickpea, that tastes pretty similar to regular pasta too. So that would be an option. And then quinoa is a really good source of protein and fiber. So I encourage you to try that one if you haven't tried it before. A lot of people eat rice and just white rice, which you still can eat just white rice, but the amount may have to decrease a little bit, or you can add in half brown rice and half white rice, or add in other vegetables to it and proteins as well. That can help stabilize the blood sugar. So anyway, choosing a grain and then choosing a protein to mix with it, and then choosing 2 vegetables. You don't have to choose 2. You can choose 1. You can choose 3. But I find that sauteing some of these vegetables together can make a really fun dish. So let's say you chose quinoa and you decided you want more plant proteins in your life. So you're going to choose a legume for your protein. Maybe you're going to open up a can of black beans. It can be any beans. And the thing is, the canned versus frozen versus what's in the bag and you have to, cook it. Nutritionally, they're all very close. So choose what you like the best. And then with the vegetables, an easy way to do this is to maybe saute some peppers, some onions, and then choose one other thing that you like and put that all together. And it just makes a quick meal. And then you can choose a sauce. So because you have diabetes or prediabetes, you're at increased risk for high cholesterol. So you might not want to choose a butter sauce every time or a cream sauce every time. You might want to mix it up with an oil sauce. And there are recipes for these sauces right down here. So it depends on how much you make of these. If you make a large batch because you want leftovers, then you probably just have to double these recipes. Then I have ideas for toppings for you and seasonings. So with this handout, you can make multiple different combinations. You can bring it to the grocery store with you and think, okay, I'm going to choose 3 grains to always have in my pantry because those aren't going to go bad. They'll last from week to week. And then you can also choose 3 proteins. And some of these, I mean, if they're in a can, they're not going to go bad. And then you can put some of the meat in the freezer too, so it doesn't go bad. Same thing with your vegetables. You can always buy frozen, and the nutrition value is going to be similar to the canned or the fresh. So make it work for you and what you like. And the second part of this is need a quick snack. And each of these snacks has protein and carbohydrates with it. So, but again, this is not specific. This is just a general handout that you're going to tweak. And so looking through this, for example, on here, cookies and milk, that's going to contain quite a bit of carbohydrate. So you either are going to have a smaller portion with it, or you might, choose something that has a little bit more fiber or fat or protein in it. Like, looking at some of these, a good snack would be trail mix because you can have some nuts for your protein and fat, some dried fruit, that sort of thing. I'm just going to scroll through it here so you can see. And then the last handout I want to show you here. Okay, this last handout, this is, I'm showing you the website right here, specifically the recipes, but you can also get this app, and it's free. Iowa State Extension developed it. It's so awesome. It is for people that are on a budget and want a nourishing, quick, easy meal that they can make. And I really love this website or app because they have pictures of the food, which I think is kind of fun. So here are the different categories for it. And if you click, I'm just going to click on main dishes here and show you some of the things because you'll have to adapt it again according to the wanting to have fiber and protein with your carbohydrate. So let's look at the chicken burrito bowl here. And so looking at the ingredients, they have brown rice here, which is great. You could also put quinoa in here if you even want more protein. And then because this is a heavy carbohydrate meal, it has corn, it has black beans in it, as well as cheese. I would recommend cutting out the corn or the black beans. So now the black beans, this is where you get to pick and choose. Black beans, it's going to have more protein than the corn, but if you also have chicken in it, you probably don't need that. So you choose, do I want black beans in here, or do I want corn, or do I just want some of both and then just decrease the amount? And so then shredded cheese is going to also have a little bit of carbohydrate, not a lot in it because it calls for half of a cup for the whole batch here. So that's how you can kind of pick and choose between recipes. Here, we'll do another one to give you an idea here. Let's see, what should we do? Well, let's go to a different one from, maybe let's look at snacks. So you can see oh, this is a good one. Roasted chickpeas. If you've never had this, very yummy. And so this would be a great snack because it's going to have fiber in it. It's going to have protein in it. And so you don't even have to adjust any of it. So if you've never tried them, I'd highly recommend it. Okay, so we went through a lot of information today. And so what I want you to, I just want to have you have some resources here, is meal planning and prep ideas. You would schedule with a dietetic intern if she can help you identify foods that are high in fiber and protein. And then if you have a specific question for me related to blood glucose levels, blood sugars, anything related prediabetes or diabetes and nutrition, you would schedule with me. And how you do that is you just call this number and specifically ask a schedule with a dietetic intern or with me. And then now I'm going to give you a few minutes to think of everything you learned and write down 1 to 2 things that you might want to try. And remember, it's an experiment. If it doesn't go well and you think, oh, I'm going to try something else, totally do that. It's totally up to you. And to next to each item that you write down, how confident are you that this is sustainable for you? So 1 to 10, with 10 being the most confident. And so if you're noticing that you have a lot of 5s and lower, why is that? What barriers are you anticipating? And then trying to figure out a workaround for that. So just to review what we learned, we're going to do the exact same quiz that we had at the beginning. Diabetes is caused by eating too much sugar. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. Small changes can make a big difference in your A1C, even if your weight remains the same. Thumbs up. Keeping your blood sugar or blood glucose controlled will preserve the life of your pancreas. Thumbs up. Now that I have prediabetes or diabetes, I should not eat carbohydrates anymore. Thumbs down. My weight is caused by my diabetes. Thumbs down. That is not the cause. Not skipping meals is the first priority in keeping your blood sugar under control. Thumbs up. So again, if you have any questions, please schedule an appointment with me. Thanks.